So last class we were discussing about like what is functional testing and what are the different types of testing that we have. We covered. Are you able to see my screen, guys? Sorry for that.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Guys, please pay attention. So these things are important now. So whatever we are discussing as part of types of testing and what are the different types of testing that we have. So mostly this will be asked as like interview questions generally. Yeah. So there are two things like there are a few debates which would encounter during the process of performing the integration testing. So what it says like why can't we go with testing whole application at a time? So practically when we look into this, it is very complex. But in terms of like theoretically, if we are talking about like integrating everything and testing is like very easy. Sorry. So here it says like big bang testing is like kind of we have to integrate each and every module at a time, and then we can test it. But when we look into this, practically it is impossible because let us take an example here. So here we have, for example, we have 100 components. Okay, so 100 components. Now it's kind of like for every release, for every let us take releases are any scheduled date. So we have these components like this. We have designed these many components. So was it time consuming when you say that we are integrating two components, two sets of components? Let us take 10 plus 2. This is kind of like 20. Okay, so 20 plus 20. Okay, after that we have 20 plus 20. Likewise, we'll be doing it. Okay, so integrating like this. So now it's like 40 plus 40 plus 20. Okay, so again it's kind of like 60 plus 40. So afterwards 100. So this is kind of like an incremental approach what we are trying to do. Okay, so we are integrating and we are creating some baselines and we are trying to integrate them, and we are saying that this is these are the components, set of components that we are picking for the testing. Okay, so but now the thing is like the big bang testing, what it says like can't we integrate like this 50 plus 50 or 75 plus 25? Okay, so a few components which are left for the application designing are 90 plus 10. So see what they are claiming is like we can save the time here because we are integrating whole components at a time and trying to execute them at a time. But the thing is like it is very complex here. So okay, so for example, if you find when you are testing these components, 50 components integrated and we are testing it, and we found like 25 major issues are identified here. Okay, so 25 major issues are identified here. So what you do is like again here we have to fix this 25 major issues, and we cannot say that 25 issues may not introduce new issues. Okay, again because of these fixes we may get another major issues. Because of these fixes again we are going to get some major issues. Because of these fixes again we are going to get some major issues. Okay, so likewise you see that this is a time consuming process. Now we cannot say that we cannot guarantee that all the issues can be identified at a time and can be fixed at a time. Okay, so in this case it is very complex. It is very complex to integrate whole application at a time and we can test it. Okay, that is nothing but big bang testing. So generally we have kind of debates here. So what we say is theoretically it is okay, but when you are considering practical, it is very difficult to implement this big bang method. Okay, so here it says like whenever the data flow is complex and very difficult to classify parent and the child, we'll go for non-incremental integration approaches. Okay, the incremental method is also non-incremental method is also known as the big bang method. Okay, so you need to just just give this explanation. If somebody asks you what is kind of integration testing and what are the different components of integration testing need, so just let them know that we have top-down approach and bottom-up, and then we have like big bang testing. Okay, this is non-incremental approach. Okay, so which we say that it comes under the incremental approach, but we say that, when we define it as like Big Bang, so we are considering all the integration parts of it, like, components of component, and we are testing it. So let's look into the system testing. The test environment is parallel to the production environment. It is also known as end-to-end testing. So system testing, here we go with the example again. I'm going to show you what is that I'm talking about. Now consider all the components are integrated and they are working fine. Okay. So now I'm conducting the system testing. See, I'm entering username, password, clicking on login method. So what is it doing now? It is going and connecting to the server and getting the details. Okay. So I should have this credentials available in the database. Okay, if these credentials are not available, you can see these are the credentials which are given. Okay. I'm trying to enter some other credentials. Okay. I will say admin 123. So what is happening now? So it is throwing the error, invalid credentials. So why it is throwing the error? It went to the server and it tried to hit the page, and I'm going to say that the details of that particular page, and it's going to create like server. Generally, what happens is like it's going to frame a query, and this frame query will be hitting to the database. So database is responding back with the error here. So what is that error? Invalid credentials. Okay. So if I try to, this is nothing but system testing. So we are integrating all components at a time, and we are trying to test end to end. Okay. So now you see I entered username, password, and I'm clicking the admin page. Now what it does is like this request is sent to the server. Server is going to hit to the database, and it's going to pick this particular admin page. Okay. So now you see I'm going to click on this PIM. After that, I'm going to click on this leave module. Okay. After that, time. Now you see everything is working fine. This is nothing but I'm performing some set of testing here. So it is throwing some error, but it is user defined error, which is like valid. Performance, dashboard. Okay. So all the modules that whatever we have as part of the application, it is working fine. Okay. So now you can see. Okay, let me just click on this maintenance. Now you see. So this is also required some password. So I'm entering this admin as password. So now you can see there are some functionalities which is like purging the maintenance. Okay. So after that we have a bus. That is nothing but we have some set of EMI, okay, direct DMs actually, okay, direct messages that we can do, and we can chat with the some customer care or else supports that we can like that this way we can use it for that. So these are the few components, and we are performing the end-to-end testing. Now what we are doing is like we are trying to navigate to the application, and the application is working fine. Okay. So this is nothing but end-to-end testing, and we have some set of functionalities as part of like end-to-end testing. I'm just showing you a few glance of it. So I mean, like, these are like only brief description about it. Now you can see when we just click on this admin and try to add some details of this admin, so we are able to render the page here. Okay, so this is nothing but the page is rendered, and we can enter the details of this. So likewise, the system testing would be done. So integration testing is like just integrating. For example, when I click on this admin module, I should get some content here. Okay, so which may not be an accurate one. It should display some page here saying that, okay, this is admin user management page. Only it may say that some information is like, this page is under construction or something I should get as part of integration testing. But system testing is like end-to-end testing. I should be connected to the internet. I should be able to connect to the server. And just give me a second, guys. So likewise, what we can do is like we can check all the functionalities like.
Oh, sorry to disturb you. Can you please do the full screen?
Yeah, is it not displaying as like full screen here? Are you able to see it? Let me do it again. Are you able to see the screen now?
Sir, able to screen, but not the full one. Actually, we are I'm able to see the users also.
But we can see. We are seeing full screen only.
Oh, okay. Then I have to check it. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. You can just go to this. Yeah, you can see the three dots, right? More. There you can go and select this full screen. There is an option which you can just click on it. Okay. Okay. So here we will undergo each attribute of software and test if the end feature works according to the business requirements and analyze the software product as a complete system. Okay. So this is system testing. System testing is like end-to-end testing. So we are trying to test everything. So if that application is hosted on intranet is like internally VPN. We can connect like, we have some space here. So what we do is like only those people will have access to that. Okay. So let me just go back. Sorry. So here what happens is like in the organization, specifically if the applications are being designed or developed by particular organization, so they will not be hosting it on a it's not publicly available. So it's like a private. So it is hosted on an intranet. Intranet is like group of people will have access to that application. So internet is like you can see a lot of applications which are available on the internet. You can see Facebook, Instagram. So whatever whatever applications we have like hosted in public domain, so that we can access like Google, any other IRCTC. All these are kind of like applications which are hosted on the public domains. Okay. So this is about like system testing. And we'll see that we talked about like functional testing and what are the different types of functional testing that we have. And now we are going to talk about like non-functional testings. So how does this exactly impact the application? And why should we concentrate on the non-functional aspect of the applications? Okay, when we are testing the application in terms of non-functional. And here you can see that it says like provides detailed information on software product performance and use technologies. So if you are trying to, so why do we need this performance testing, or else why do we need this non-functional testing? Non-functional testing is like it should provide a feasibility to the user, and it should have usability, scalability, and it should provide the good performance, and it should provide the good security. Okay, only it is not important like we host the application and we just give it to the customer, and we don't do any sort of non-functional testing. And see, customers what they report is like they are going to report the issues in terms of non-functional testing also. Okay, so we are unable to access this page in time, or else it's loading, it's taking a lot of time to load, slowness of the application, network is disrupted, and time dot exception. So these are the different exceptions that we encounter during accessing the applications. Okay, so as part of customer, I'm saying. So if we have this set of issues, then they are not going to accept it. Okay, so for this reason, what they do is like they are going to raise the issues for this. Okay, so we'll see what are the non-functional testing aspects. So non-functional testing will help us minimize the risk of production and related cost of the software. Okay, and non-functional testing is a combination of performance, load, stress, usability, and compatibility testing. So these are the few factors that I have considered here, but we'll see in a different tiles wherein we are going to examine about each and every aspect of non-functional testing. Okay, so here first comes like performance testing, next usability, compatibility, automation testing. So automation testing, I just consider types of testing here. It's not functional, but I just clubbed everything here. But I'll define what are the non-functional testing. Okay, performance, usability, compatibility. Then we have exploratory testing, ad hoc testing, security testing, and globalization testing. So these are non-functional testing aspects. Okay, what are functional and non-functional both? Automation testing, sanity, retesting, regression testing, user acceptance testing. Okay, and smoke testing also. So this all comes under like it's a combination of both functional and non-functional. When we are talking about automation testing, smoke testing, sanity testing, retesting, and regression testing, user acceptance testing. So these are like part of functional and non-functional aspects. Okay, which are clubbing both of the things. But specifically, if we are talking about non-functional, performance, usability, compatibility, exploratory, ad hoc, security, and globalization testing. So these are the non-functional testing. Okay, we'll look into this each and every testing type in detail. See, performance testing will test the working of an application by applying some load, and will only focus on several aspects such as response time, load, scalability, and stability of the software or an application. Okay, so let us consider a small demonstration on the small performance testing. Okay, Chroma, let me take Firefox. So I clicked on this particular application and it's loading fastly. Okay, let me show you. So you see, this is nothing but we are placing some request and we are getting the response from the server, and the type of the response is like JSON request. Okay, so here I'm going to do something where it's going to show you how exactly it's going to impact the performance. Okay. So it's not supporting this no throttle. So I'm just doing some set of action so that it will load slowly, or else it's going to take some time. Blocking. I'm just selecting everything. Disable the caches. So now do you see something? It's like loading slowly, right? So application was responding very fastly, but now it is like it is taking some time. So that what is the reason behind this? Like, I disabled some cookies and I disabled some things in the developer tool. So what it is doing is like it is taking some time. Now it's kind of like, load time has taken 9.25 seconds. Okay, I'm disabling the cookies. Okay, what I will do is like, again, I'm going to delete this request and again, I'm going to do the refresh. Now you see, earlier it was loading fastly, but it is taking the time. Okay, this is nothing but performance. If customer would say that no, earlier it was working fast and what happened? The application is not loading perfectly and it's like no, not loading perfectly in time. Okay, so when I say disable again, I will remove this. Now I'm going to do some sort of. See now what is that? What happened now? You can see the load time. What is the load time? It has taken 967 milliseconds. Okay, so now if I disable this cookies, see how much time it is taking now. It is more than. We count the seconds, 5 seconds done. 10.13 seconds. So what is the reason behind this is like, we made some changes in the code and this code is like, kind of disabling some caches. So cache, that is the reason why it is loading slowly. So developer has found this issue and is like, it's kind of like is not disabling the cache now. So cache is available. So it's loading very fastly. So load time is like improved. So this is nothing but performance. Okay, this is nothing but performance. How it is impacting the application? You are getting the application response. Okay, so application is responding properly, but the time is like it's taking more time. So that is nothing but it's a performance. Okay, it's performance issue. So this kind of issues will be reported by the customer. Okay, so they say that your server is taking some time to respond, and we have like turnaround time, and we have some threshold limits and a lot of things that we discuss as part of performance testing. Okay. Next, coming to the usability testing, we will analyze the user friendliness of an application and detect the bugs in software end user interfaces. Okay, the application should be easy to understand, which means that all the features must be visible to the end users. Okay, for example, you can see here sometimes when I open this application, okay, so open something, we open. So this time I'm going to access different application. I'm just trying to open Life Insurance Corporation of India. Okay. Now, do you see that this application is like, what is the font of this? Can you see this plan number 862 UNI? So this is nothing but kind of usability testing. The people, those who are like those who are aged and if they have some kind of like visibly challenged, like they are not visibly challenged guys, so they are not able to see this. Okay, so it should be like kind of the application wherein everybody should be should be like feel easy to access the application and should have the ability of looking at each and every aspect of the application content which is displayed on this application. Okay, now we can see this is kind of like very tiny font, and we can see that no tiny small characters which are displayed here, which is not visible, and the people those who are aged are, I mean to say that at least they have like 60 plus years of people, they cannot easily identify this set of content on the page. Okay, but when you consider these things and you see that these are the few challenges that we have as part of the application, then developer may look into this. Okay, developer may look into this, they may increase the font size. Okay, so they may increase the font size and they may give the application like this. You can see that. Okay, at least like you can see what is the content which is displayed. Okay, they may suggest you to go with this you can zoom this application. Okay, you can view this content. So these are the few things they are going to provide as like workaround for us. Okay, so this is nothing but usability. This is not usable. This application is not tend to used by the people those who are like elder. Okay, so elder in the sense like they are aged something around like 50 plus 60 plus or 70 plus years of people, they cannot look into this application properly. Okay, because of the content is not displayed. Okay, so this is nothing but usability testing. So this comes under as part of like non-functionalized. So here you can see the application looks and feels should be good. That means that the application should be pleasant looking and make a feel to the end user to use it. Okay, so this is nothing but it should be easy to use. And sometimes we can see that we have a color blindness. If people are, you can see that if I'm going to open a Firefox here, I'm just taking the instance. Now, what is the background of this browser? You can see there's a black. Okay, so this is nothing but I love to have this browser loaded in the background as like black. So some people they may not like it and they want to have this in a brighter colors. Okay, white colors, because they are not able to identify the elements which are displayed on the browser. Okay, so these settings is like these settings are given on the browser level also, so that it will be easy for the user to view the application in a proper. Next, what is compatibility testing? We'll check the functionality of an application in specific hardware and software environment. So as we discussed, like if you are taking any huge applications, SAP or Oracle EBS, so enterprise applications. So those applications require a huge space, and they should have like perfect configuration in terms of hardware and software. So that's nothing but the high-end configurations. So in that case, they can run these applications because their data is huge and they have to manage a lot of data as part of databases also. In that case, compatibility testing should be done because we have to load this application. For example, if few applications may not be loaded in Linux operating system, few may not be loaded in Windows operating system, few may not be loaded in Mac system, and they should have specific configuration. For example, if you want to load particular application, they should have .NET frameworks defined. Some supporting software should be there. Otherwise, it's going to throw the error, or else we have to do this all compatibility testing. So for example, if you are trying to load any Java machine or Java applications here, okay. Let us take like prerequisites of SFE application. Okay. Otherwise, we can say hardware requirements of SAP application. So here in this help portal, they have given all the things. Now I'll show you what are the things that should be part of SS. You can see distribution of the Oracle database, and this should be like system configuration. See the system configuration. You can see all these things like NetWeaver 7.5 net. What are the different hardware requirements? You can see hardware must be 64-bit capable and optical media drive. So this should be the drive that we have. See hardware disk space 2 GB or temporary disk. So these are the different requirements. Say RAM capability and paging space, swap space. So these are the different hardware requirements. You can see what are the software requirements. Say software requirements, database check, database software, operating system versions. What are the versions it supports and what are the versions it supports as part of HP UX, Linux, and different operating systems. Okay. So these are the few things like you can see if it is not meeting these requirements, then it may throw the error. So this is nothing but this is related to the SAP. If you take the Oracle enterprise applications, like you can see Oracle EBS application, enterprise business solutions. So in this case, You can say installation guide, and it's going to show up like what are the different hardware requirements, installing components and system requirements. You can see it should have like server 10G and middleware 11G, and we should have business WebLogic server. So these are nothing but compatibility testing. Operating system, what are the operating system supports and requirements for installing in multiple nodes, and when we have networking, shared memory permission. So these are the different set of things that we have to test as part of the compatibility testing. Okay, so here software means we can test the application on the different operating systems and other browsers, and hardware means we can test the applications on different sizes. Okay, so this talks about like compatibility testing, and this is like one of the buzzing word, and it's every time we hear a lot of things about automation testing. That's nothing but we are going to automate the manual process. Okay, so the most significant part of software testing is automation testing. It uses specific tools to automate manual design test cases without any human interventions. Okay, so all this login, clicking, everything will be done with the help of automation testing scripts. So automation testing is best way to enhance the efficiency, productivity, and coverage of software testing. So sometimes in manual interventions, what happens is like you may skip it because of your intuitiveness. You see, you may see that sometimes you have a gut feeling like this part of application is not changed by anybody, but we may see that sometimes it's being introduced by defects are being introduced by the development team, because they make some changes, and if this particular part of the application is not tested anymore, like, and there can be impact. Okay, impact in the sense, for example, if you are trying to test the application, we have some set of test cases here and we are executing it, but sometimes we may miss few of the test cases. We have a gut feeling like this may work and nobody has touched it, right? So it may work. But in case of automation, it's not like that. We have defined all the test cases as part of like script, so that will be executed every time the application is given to us. Okay, so that is the reason why we are going to go with the automation testing, and it is used to rerun the test scenarios which were executed manually, quickly, and repeatedly. So if any test case that need a repeated kind of thing, like we have to repeat it every time when we have to go with the releases. So in that case, we want to make it as like a we'll script it, and we are going to automate those test cases, and we want to make it like regular test case that should be executed as part of releases. So for that reason, we are going to go with the automation testing. We have a lot of automation tools available in the market, but as we discussed about, like, Selenium is like popular because it has a market share more than any other tools in the market. Okay, let's see that what are the different tools that are available as part of automation. I'm just using Google search engine to find out what are the different tools. The market. Okay, showing something here. So this is continuous tools only. Which has the top market share, that we'll see. Okay, so no, but Selenium comes first. Here's a list of top 10 automation tools: Selenium, Appium, Catalan Studio, Cucumber, HP, that's nothing but UFT, and Tosco, Test Complete, Cypress, IBM, RFT, so Carrot. So these are the tools that are like identified this particular website, and they are saying that Selenium is a top. The best free automation tool for web application testing is like Selenium. Selenium tool currently takes first place among all the automation testing tools because of its community. Okay, so you can just go and Google it, why Selenium is popular, and what is the main necessity of using this application as part of automation testing. Just give me a second, guys. I'm getting a call. I'm sorry for that, guys. So yeah, we looked into the automation testing tools, right? What are the testing tools? And luckily, we have selected the automation tool, which has a wide market range. Okay, so market share and market range and open. There are a lot of feasibilities which are uh, embedded as part of automation tool, like Selenium automation. And see what is smoke testing and sanity testing, and this is very important. And you see that questions will be asked in interviews. What is smoke testing and sanity testing? So in smoke testing, we'll test an application basic and critical features before doing one round of deep and rigorous testing. So smoke testing is like generally done when we start with the testing for the first time. So we want to see that whether this application is working properly or not. So only we are going to do a touch-based testing. Okay, touch-based testing in the sense whether this application is logging in perfectly, and when we click on this particular menu item, is it navigating to the other pages? Or we add some record, delete some records, or update some records. So these are like basic functionality that we are going to do. Okay, so to check to ensure that it is ready for the major testing, that's nothing but regression testing. And so this smoke testing would be done before, like whenever we get the bill. What we do is like for the few releases, let us take. We have planned the releases like this. Okay, so release. If I'm talking about release, this is nothing but it is demoing or kind of like marketing. We are just pushing it to the market. Okay, release one. So in this release one, we have to test the application. Okay, so we started with the testing. So what we do is like we are going to test the build. Okay, testing build. So in this build, we are going to consider smoke test, sanity test, and regression test. So these are a few things. Okay, but when we are taking it for the first time, what it is like we are going to consider smoke test. Smoke test will be conducted for few releases. Okay, for few builds. Okay, so for few builds. After that, what we do is like we are going to consider the sanity test. Sanity test is like it's going to pick up few more tests. We'll discuss about it. Okay, so this will be done for all releases. Regression test all releases. Okay, so we are talking about like smoke test, and I said like few builds. Okay, few builds. So here what exactly we are going to do is like smoke test will help you to identify, are there any smoke? Are there any smoke in the sense, are there any kind of like warnings, or kind of like the areas, prone areas that it's going to break it. Okay, break the application. Sometimes you see that when we are loading this application, or when we see that we are integrating databases, or we are changing any set of frameworks, or kind of like we want to change the technology. In that case, what we do is like we are not going to execute our regression test or sanity test directly. We are going to conduct a smoke test. Smoke test is nothing but it's going to show you like whether we are able to find the gaps, or if we have any issues in the application. So those things will be identified as part of smoke test. Okay, so this is not done regularly on this releases, which is already which is already working, and we are trying to enhance few features. But when we do this is like we are going to conduct this set of smoke tests on the initial builds, initial releases. Okay, initial releases will have number of builds, and in this build we are going to perform the smoke testing. Okay, so what is sanity testing? Sanity testing is to ensure that all the bugs have been fixed and no added issues come into the existing due to these changes. So generally this is considered as like regression testing, but sanity testing, what we do is like, see what we are going to do as part of sanity testing is like, so here we have 1,000 test cases. Okay, 1,000 test cases. To identify any set of like major issues or catastrophic issues or showstoppers, we don't need to execute 1,000 test cases. What we do is like here we are going to consider some test cases like 100 test cases are like sanity test. Sanity testing. Okay, so this is nothing but a small piece of test pack, a small piece of the regression test pack that we are going to consider. The major part, like this is a small piece of the priority test cases. Like 100 priority test cases should be executed, and this test cases should not report any issues. Okay. In case if we are going to report any issues, those issues should be fixed, and then we are going to consider this sanity is passing, and we can go with the regression testing. That's nothing but rigorous testing will be done on the application. So sanity testing is like part of regression testing. We are going to pick the priority test cases. Okay, priority test cases. We can see that, okay, if this test cases are passing, then we can go ahead and test the application. Like, 1,000 test cases should be executed on the application. But if this is not passing, let us take like we have executed 50 test cases and we found there are 10 test cases. Okay, 10 test cases which are like major test cases failing. Major failed. In this case, what we do is like we are going to get them fixed, and we have to retest this. Okay, retesting, and after that we say that, okay, this is like 100 test cases are passing now, we can go ahead with the regression testing. Okay, this is nothing but a small piece of test cases that we are going to test as part of test pack, and we are going to execute them. Okay, so here it says like, sanity testing is unscripted, which means we cannot document it. It checks the correctness of the newly added features and the components. Okay, it's talking about newly added features, and the existing features also we have to consider as part of sanity testing. Smoke testing will be done in the initial stage of releases, and sanity testing will be done on all the releases, but the priority test cases will be executed for the major testing. Okay, to get the flag from the major testing. It's kind of like, we are signing off sanity testing. It says like, we are ready for the major testing. That is, we can go with the regression testing. So there is another part which comes as part of retesting. Retesting is like, run a test, it fails, fault reported. For example, if you are executing some set of test cases, okay. So in test case, you found the issue, it's not working as expected. Then what you do is like, you are going to report it. So once you report it, developer is going to fix that issue. So how do we report the issue now? So we are going to describe the details of the issue, and we are going to give the steps what we have followed for producing this issue. In this case, what developer does is like, he's going to execute those steps again, and he's going to see that if that issue is reproducible. If that issue is reproducible, then what it does is like, he is going to give the fix. So once we get the fix, we have to rerun same set of test cases again. Okay, same set of tests. So if we followed some steps, right, 1 to 10 steps, same set of steps should be followed to ensure that it is working properly. Okay, newer version of software with the fault fix. What we do is like, once the issue is fixed, they are going to give the new build. So we have to execute our test cases on that new build. So rerun the same test. Here it is called as like retest. Must be exactly repeatable steps, same environment and versions. So if version is changing, then we have to execute the same set of test cases, but the environment would be same. Okay, same inputs and preconditions, everything should be same. And we have like different versions of the software that is given to us. On that we have to execute. So if test now passes, fault has been fixed correctly. So sometimes what we see is that, only that particular, we are going to execute only that particular test case. We may not know that if it is going to introduce the new issues or not. Okay, so for that reason, what we say is like, we have another analogy for this. So here you can see, when we are retesting it, what happens is like rerunning the failed test case. Okay, so let us take like fault fix now. It is working fine. But you see that because of that fix, what happened now? There are other issues which are introduced. You can see new faults introduced by the first fault, not fixed during the retesting. So that's nothing but, see, we have tested this and it is working fine, but we may not know that this is the issue which is getting introduced, like, which is going to introduce the new issues in the application. Okay, so because of this fix, so they may adjust some code, and that code is not working properly for that fix, but it is not expected, like, the new issues may not be expected as part of the code, but there could be chances like, they may introduce new issues in the other part of the application. So how do we ensure that? How do we ensure that these issues will be identified as part of like retesting? But this is not possible as part of retesting, right? Because we are going to execute same set of test cases. So to handle this, we have another process is called regression testing. Okay, so regression testing is the most used type of software testing. Here the term regression implies that we have to retest those parts of an unaffected application. So in simple terms, I'll say that regression testing is to ensure the existing functionality is working as is, along with the new feature introduced in the application. Okay, so that is nothing but regression testing, to ensure that the existing functionality is working with the components which are newly introduced, along with the issues which are fixed. Okay, so what we do is like, we are going to consider this part when we are executing the regression test cases. Okay, what are those regression test cases that we are going to consider here? Is like existing test cases should pass, new feature test should pass, fault fixes should pass, no new defects should be introduced. Okay, so these are the things that we have to consider when we are executing the regression set. Okay, regression, like for example, you see there are like existing test cases, there are 1,000 test cases we have, and new feature it's going to introduce some 250 test cases, and fault fixes, there are fault 50 fixes which are been fixed by the developer in the recent releases, or else like current release, and now introducing no defect should be introduced. Okay, sometimes you'll get the defects. Regression testing is like to ensure that it's working as expected. Existing test cases should be working along with the new features, and no fault fixes should be broken. Broken in the sense the fix should not be broken when we are testing the application, and no new defect should be introduced. If we have any defects introduced, then what we do is like again we are going to, like for example, we got some 20 defects, and these defects will be reported. Okay, so these defects will be reported and rolled out the same release. Okay, so if you don't have any spillovers in the sense, for example, we are not getting any time to fix it in the current releases, we are going to defer this. Okay, so we have another stages for this. So we'll see that what are the different stages of the defects. If I deferred it, is nothing but we are going to give it in future releases. Okay, future releases. Okay, so these are the things that we have to consider as part of regression. So that is the same thing is discussed here. Regression testing is the most suitable testing for automation tools as per the project type. So here we are going to decide which part of the test cases that we can pick for the automation. Whenever a bug is fixed by the developer and then testing the other features of the application, that might be simulated because of the bug fixing is known as regression testing. That's nothing but we have to ensure that whatever fixes that developer has given should be working fine in these releases. So in other words, we can say that whenever there is a new release for some projects, then we can perform regression testing, and due to a new feature may affect the old feature in the earlier releases. So this is what we have discussed, right? So existing test cases should work along with the existing functionality should work along with the new functionality. There should not be any issues reported during the testing. If we have any issues reported, then what we do is we are going to report it, and they are going to get it fixed and should be rolled out in the current releases. Or if they need some time and they see that this is a major issue which cannot be fixed in this release and it is impacting on the application, what they are going to do is sometimes they roll back those changes, or else they are going to take it in the next releases. So this is nothing but regression testing. So what is the difference between retesting and regression testing? Retesting is like executing the same set of test case, okay, same steps, and with a newer version. But regression testing is like we are going to execute the whole test cases along with the fixes that we have given as part of the new release, and the next is like it should not introduce the new issues. So this is nothing but the difference between regression and retesting. We'll see what are the side effects, what are the side effects and unexpected things which will happen as part of regression testing is we cannot guarantee that all the issues can be identified here. So we have executed. So these are the test cases which is identifying this issue, and this one is identified, this one is identified, and this is a fault fix. It is working fine. We have verified it is working fine. But we cannot guarantee that there are some other areas which may get impacted. Okay. So sometimes we see that all the defects cannot be identified in one release. Sometimes we see that it can be a miss, or sometimes it can be a defect mask. Defect mask is nothing but one defect is hiding the other defect. Okay. So if we don't identify the defect, the other defect will be available in this particular release and it will not be identified. Okay, anytime unless you identify the major defect. So that's nothing but defect masking. So regression testing also cannot be, it cannot ensure that all the issues can be identified in one release. So we have to keep on continuing this regression test for the releases that we are going to roll out. So now you see, when do we conduct the regression testing? Regression testing can be conducted when we are changing the environment, test environment. That's nothing but when we are trying to change the databases, operating system, browsers, medium, or third-party products. If something is introduced as part of our application, that we have to conduct the regression testing. And the other thing is like test objective. Test object in the sense new bug fixes, major, minor modifications, new functionalities, integrations, patches, interfaces. So if something is changed as part of objective, then we have to perform the regression testing. In two ways we have to do it. One is like whenever we have in two terms that we have to conduct the regression testing. One is like first term is like when we have some test environment change, and second term is like when we have some test objective. Okay, so if any change in the test objective, then we have to conduct the regression testing. And moreover, this will be changed as part of every releases. It's not only the one release we change the test environment, one release we change the test objective. It's like a continuous process. Every time, if any new changes comes in, then we have to do the regression. Okay, so we see that now most of the companies or most of the people, they talk about regression testing. We have regression testing, and we have this many test cases, and we are to introduce this new functionalities. So all these are kind of like terms that we use as part of software testing. Okay, are you clear with this regression testing and retesting, guys? Do you have any questions for me?
No, Shikhar.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
No, sir.
Sir, can you repeat what is the difference between sanity and regression test?
Sorry, can you be audible? I'm not able to hear you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you please repeat the part? What is the difference between the sanity and regression testing, sir?
Yeah, sanity testing is like we are going to take some part of test cases and execute those test cases. For example, you see, if you're talking about like sanity test case, so first test case is like I want to log into the application. Okay. So here I'm giving username admin123. I'm just clicking on this login. Okay. So as expected, I'm able to see this dashboard. For example, I'm trying to enter the valid username and password. Okay. So I'm just using this admin12345 something. Let us consider this is a valid test case that I'm. Yes, I'll log it up. I'll log out and I will do it. Okay. Admin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I consider this is nothing but the valid username and password is given, but I'm not able to log into the application. Okay. So what I did is like as part of sanity testing, I just took some test cases, like out of this 1,000 test cases, 100 test cases are taken as part of sanity testing. That is nothing but here. This is regression suite. In that regression suite, this is sanity. Okay. So regression suite exhibits all the test cases, regression test, and this is nothing but sanity test. Okay. So this is nothing but this regression is like superset and sanity is like subset. So whenever we have this sanity testing is like to ensure that the application is ready for the major testing. Major testing is nothing but regression testing. Okay. So to ensure sanity testing is like set of test cases taken out from the regression test. Okay. That is the difference between regression and sanity. Sanity is like the complete test cases. Regression is like complete test cases. Sanity is like part of those test cases out of which we have taken as part of sanity. Sanity is nothing but it is ready for the major testing to give the sign off for the readiness of the major testing. Regression testing is like major testing that we are doing. Okay. So I'll say this one as like main. You can call it as like main. And this is nothing but subsection. Okay. So this is the difference between regression and sanity. Are you clear with this?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? So it's very important to understand this testing. Like you will get the questions like what is smoke testing, what is sanity testing, what is retesting, what is regression testing. What is ad hoc testing? What is exploratory testing? They are going to ask these questions in the interviews. Okay. Next, look into the part called user acceptance testing. This is UAT, what we say. So final stage of validation, customer can perform any test they wish, usually based on their business processes. Okay. Final user sign off. So it's kind of like they are going to give, they are going to introduce their new, their test their data. So real-time data, not the test data. And they are going to test the application. Okay. For example, they want to enter the customer details. What they do is like they are going to take the real-time data and they are going to test it. So if it is working fine, they are going to give the final sign off. Say that yes, this is working fine and we can use this application. So approaches, what are the approaches? Mixture of scripted and scripted testing and model office concept sometimes used. So that's nothing but we were talking about like alpha testing and beta testing, right? So model office concept is like we are going to consider two types of testing within this. So one is like alpha testing, another is like beta testing, user acceptance testing. So simulated are actually operational testing at the in-house site or not by the developers. Developers will not be involved into this, and the team will be like separate team will be testing it within the organization. Okay, so we will not be involved. Like developers or testers will not be involved in it, but it will be considered as like testing in some other part. For example, Hyderabad team has worked on this application development and tested this application. Now the Bangalore team will be taking these test cases and they are going to execute those test cases, whatever we have written as part of testing. So that is alpha testing. So beta testing is like completely, it's kind of like in a different organization or a site. Like, site is like the, the user. For example, we are working on a banking application. So HDFC is like our client and we have tested our application and we have said that it's working fine. We have done the alpha testing also. Okay, so Bangalore team has done the alpha testing. Now HDFC Bank is like separate entity. Okay, they are the customers. What they do is like they are going to take that application and they are going to test from their end. Okay, so few people like will be designated to test this and they'll be testing it, and if they find any issues, they are going to report it. So that is nothing but beta testing. Alpha testing is like done at the in-house, like in-house site in the sense at our locations, like at our company in the different locations. But the beta testing is like site testing. Site testing is like completely the different set of people will be involved in. Okay. So next is like exploratory testing. So this exploratory testing is like whenever we are done with the testing and the application is like, it is now running, okay, up and running. So what we do is like exploratory testing. Generally, this will be given a chance to the new joiners. Sorry, for example, if lateral heads, if somebody is coming as like new team member, in that case, what we do is like we are going to ask them to explore this application. You can test this application by looking at the application itself. Okay, so you can just go through this application. For example, you can see this application is already up and running, right? See Orange HRM, this is up and running. So do you have any test cases with me? No. But what I'm doing is like I'm trying to explore this application. How I'm going to explore this application? Log into the application, click on admin module, and search for some person here. So admin, search it. Say I'm not going to get the details because these details are not there. And then I'm going to click on add button. So this is nothing but without any test cases in my hand. I'm trying to execute this application. Enabled and username is like Paul. So it says like invalid characters, invalid. So this is like some set of requirements are there. Going to PM module. So this is nothing but exploratory testing. I'm just exploring the application and I don't know what are the test cases that I have. And I'm not sure like how this functionality would work, but still I'm going and exploring this application. So this is nothing but exploratory testing. Okay. So just you're going with a vague experience, like you have some prior experience on different applications that you have done, but the domain would be same. Based on the domain experience, you are going and trying to execute the application. Okay. So that's nothing but without any test cases. So ad hoc testing is like some other testing. So here we are going to consider like we have some set of test cases in our mind, but what we do is like still we are going to execute those. We are going to use our intuitiveness. We know the application. We know the application and we have executed the test cases and we did not find anything. Now ad hoc testing is like kind of testing wherein we are going to do some monkey testing. Okay. So clicking on this, for example, you can see, just show you the monkey testing, how I'm going to do the monkey testing here. I'm clicking on here and just again, I'm going here. I'm clicking on logout. And again, I'm going to enter username, password. And I'm clicking on my information. So I don't have any certain test case sequence of execution. I'm not executing test case in sequence. I'm clicking on time. I'm clicking on attendance, employee records. See what I'm doing here? I'm doing all sort of like, the random testing. Okay. Ad hoc testing is nothing but random testing. Randomly, I'm going and clicking on something. I'm checking on this. I'm clicking on buzz. Ensuring that application is working fine. Okay. So we're clicking on admin again. Click on job categories. Trying to add some jobs here. I'll say that tester. So tester save. Okay, it showed me save successfully. And I'm selecting this, delete the selected, as deleted. So what I'm doing here is like I'm not following any certain sequence. I'm just trying to do the testing is like what exactly monkey does. Okay, monkey does in the sense it's not like quite enough. Like it will not stay in one place. It's going to roam here and there. So it does not have any defined directions. So in this way, I'm going to test the application. Okay. So that is what we have considered. Testing the application randomly as soon as the build is in the check sequence is known as ad hoc testing. Okay. So it is also called as monkey testing or gorilla testing. In ad hoc testing, we will check the application is in contradiction of the client requirement. That's why it is also known as negative testing. Sometimes we go here and there and click on this. So we are trying to click on that particular node or something which is like still loading. It may throw some set of exceptions. So those exceptions should be handled. So there's nothing but ad hoc testing. Next is like security testing. So it is essential part of software testing used to determine the weakness, risk or threats in the software application. So we can see that encryption, decryption. Encryption, decryption is nothing but we have a private keys and public keys. Okay. So if you are, see now what happens is like when you are sending some text from WhatsApp, now you can see that there is a message which shows like end-to-end encryption is done. So that is nothing but they are providing the security. Okay. So everything will be transformed from one place to the another place. And the middle person, if he's trying to do some access, like, he wants to access your messages. So that is not possible because he does not possess any set of private keys. Okay. Private keys in the sense. So what it does is like two parties, like party one and party two. Party one is sending the data to party two. That's nothing but client is sending data to the server. And the middleman is trying to hack something, like nothing but hackers, what they do is like they are going to access your information. So in that case, what we are doing is like we are providing some security. Okay. So security should be provided on the application. If security is not there, what happens is like whatever data that we are passing in between, that will be hacked. Okay. So mostly we can see that we have like phone tappings, or sometimes the hackers would be like tracking your information, the banking information. That is nothing but if any application is like prone to the security and like they are not providing any security, then there is no use of that application. Okay. So in that case, what we have to do is like before rolling out any application, we have to provide the security testing. So that is nothing but we say that penetration testing. Okay. Penetration testing would be done intentionally. Sometimes developers would be introducing some defects and they want to catch the defect. So that's nothing but penetration testing. Okay. So here you can see why it is essential is like to identify the weakness, risk or threats in the applications. So execution of security testing will help us to avoid the nasty attacks from the outsiders and ensure our software application security. In other words, we can say that security testing is mainly used to define that the data will be safe and endure the software working process. Okay. So this is all about like to save the application from the hackers. Okay. The outside person cannot use our applications. To avoid this, we are going to perform the security testing, or to identify the potential issues, we are going to perform the security testing. Next is like, this is last part of it. What is non-functional testing? What we are discussing about is like globalization testing. So we see a lot of things now. We have like what is globalization testing? In terms of like we have different languages, different countries, different time zones, different geographical zones, and we have different currencies. So these are nothing but globalization. If you want to communicate, for example, we have a mode of communication is like if you want to communicate with the United States, then what we do is like we are going to use English as a mode of language. But when you are trying to communicate with the people, those who are in France, they need French, right? So they may not understand the English. Or Chinese, you can see that they want to talk in Chinese only. Okay. So now if you go to Russia, Russia is like they are going to talk in Russia. They may not understand the English. So likewise, the softwares, like, whatever we have designed, for example, you can see how do we test it actually, and what are the different tools that we are going to use as part of globalization testing is like, now you can see there are different languages defined here. Okay. So different languages defined here. So you can just go here. Already open. General setting we have. Say language and appearance. You can see the language and appearance. You can see if we want to change the language. For example, if now you can see US English, search for language. If I am searching for another language, okay. For example, you can see all the languages are there. Okay. So when I say fanciers, okay. So I'm going to add it. I need to remember this, otherwise this changing would be done. Okay. When you say France, now we go and try to execute this application. So this application is like still it is under the process of defining them in a France. Let me just take it in France now. So what did you see here? What is this? This is nothing but it's saying new tab. So which is defined in a France. Okay. So you can see all the things are changed here. This is nothing but globalization testing. Okay. So globalization testing, you are just changing the language. And this is nothing but only this is not the only thing that we are talking about, but this is only in terms of language that we are trying to test it. Okay. So new tab. Now everything has changed. Okay. Likewise, you can add default languages to this in application. Also, we have to test this and we have to see that what are the terms that are being converted. Okay. So sometimes you see that Korean languages, Japanese languages. So those people like they want to access this, access their application in regional languages. And in terms of that, we have to test this globalization testing. Okay. So if you are talking in terms of languages, then we have to do with the globalization testing and local, like, local languages or local currencies. So all these are kind of like, globalization testing we are going to consider. See here it says like multiple languages and multiple features. In present scenario, we can see that enhancements in several technologies as application are prepared to be used globally. Okay. So it's not only in terms of English, but they have to, they can be accessed in their regional languages, and that is nothing but globalization testing. Are you clear with this, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's ready.
So with this, we have finished like what are types of testing, what are different types of like functional, non-functional testing. So tomorrow probably we'll be discussing about like, not probably, we will be discussing about the techniques. So then after we'll be discussing about how do we write the test cases. So after that, we have one more thing, defect life cycle and agile methodology. So with this, we'll be finishing the manual testing.
Shrikant, I have one question that how we will do the security testing that will be should
Security testing is altogether, security testing is altogether a different part. We have to have those tools, and if you have any requirement with the penetration testing, we can go with the security testing. So that is different thing. Actually, we have a lot of certifications for that. So we have to have the certifications done. So generally, it is not given to the testers like, like us, like directly we cannot go and do the security testing because we should have some protocols for that. So a separate team will be sitting in the organization and they will perform the security testing. So generally we call them as like, penetration testers.
Yeah, okay.
For that, we have different learning. Again, we have to go with the tools and we have to learn those tools and then we can do the security testing. But for as like a manual tester or automation tester, it's not possible to do the security testing. Still, we can go ahead with this networking and we see that if data is any tweak is done, or we can say that, debugging what we say. We can ask developer to introduce some issues, but it's not appreciated because that should be mostly done by the penetration testing team. They will look into this. They have some set of protocols actually. They have to follow those protocols. Unless those protocols are followed, then we cannot do the testing. Okay? So then we have some entitlements like not entitlements, but kind of like role-based testing, user testing. User should have these roles, admin roles, or any other roles again. So like administration roles and security roles, or sometimes you see the roles defined to the clerk or normal employee. So these are different security testing that we can do as part of application. But application, how this is interacting with the other, like outside of the world, or how this is interacting with the other software, that is purely done by the third party team, what we say generally.
Okay, and another one that performance loading testing is there, right? So just we need to do disable the cache and then after do that is only related to
No, performance testing also we have tools like JMeter and we have performance center. So we have to use those performance tools. That's nothing but it will monitor everything. What is the response time? What is request time? Turnaround time? What is the different graphs? No, that is like different part. That is like JMeter is different thing. So here we are going to discuss manual and automation. So I know how can we configure this JMeter and all, but that is like different part.
Okay,
There we are going to use samplers, listeners and all.
Okay, if we join any organization, they will say right directly you can do performance testing, but that scenario how we will do?
Yeah, that is different part. We have to learn that actually. I'm like, I will only teach like manual and automation, but performance testing is like different tool that you have to learn. APIs and performance are different.
Yeah, okay.
So manual testing will cover all these parts like non-functional and functional, but when you are looking into non-functional, most of the time they use the tools actually. They should have skilled resource in using the tools and identifying the potential issues in terms of performance.